I am Shinobi.
Hey.
A girl turtle?
Since their creation in the early 1980s, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have become iconic fictional characters, as have many of their allies and enemies. But you can certainly be forgiven if you've never heard of Venus de Milo. The relatively obscure fifth turtle was retconned into the story of Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael as part of a short-lived 1990s television series called Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. And you can also be forgiven if you've never heard of that either, because The Next Mutation is the turtle show that time forgot.
Hey, Donnie. Come watch Leo turn his noodle into strudel.
In 1984, comic book creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird published the first issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A parody of comic book trends of the era, the book quickly became a hit, and in 1986, the characters made the jump to television in an animated cartoon. Aimed squarely at children, that show depicted a more lighthearted version of the team.
I don't know who you are, but thanks. You're not human.
Bingo. Yeah, we're dealing with a real mind here.
It would run an impressive 10 seasons. Thanks to that success, its goofier, pizza-obsessed version of the Turtles became the one that most of the world would come to know. The cartoon's popularity would also convince New Line Cinema to produce a live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that brought the team to life using actors in turtle costumes. That movie, which hit theaters in 1990, effectively split the difference between the dark tone of the comic and the light tone of the cartoon, and it turned out to be a massive hit. Sequels were produced in 1991 and 1993, but those sequels were both noticeably more kid-friendly and increasingly less successful at the box office. Several alternate plans were made for the fourth installment, one of which was called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4: The Next Mutation. But due to the poor performance of Part 3, it was never actually made. It seemed like the concept had run its course, and in 1996, even the Turtles' decade-old cartoon show was finally canceled. But they wouldn't be gone for long, because in 1997, Saban Entertainment, the company behind Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, agreed to produce a live-action Turtles television series. That series would be Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. And like previous iterations, it found its heroes living in the sewers of New York City, devouring pizza with strange toppings, and doing battle with Shredder and the Foot Clan. Across the world in China, however, Splinter's old friend Chang-Yi learns that the evil Dragon Lord, who leads a force of humanoid dragons called the Rank, is planning to escape from a prison dimension and into a realm of dreams that Splinter visits when he meditates. When Splinter then becomes trapped in that dimension, Chung sends his star pupil to New York to help the Turtles save their master. That star pupil turns out to be a female mutant turtle named Mei Pei-Chi, who eventually acquires the name Venus de Milo. After capturing her four male counterparts, Venus reveals she was a previously unmentioned fifth turtle that was in their bowl when they were exposed to the mutagen that made them what they are. Unlike the boys, however, she was washed down the sewer to Chinatown, where she was found by Chung-Yi, who took her to China and trained her in the art of shinobi. That training gives her weird mystic powers, which she uses to immediately defeat Shredder, and the Foot Clan then disbands.
It's over! The Foot is a lie, and your master is insane! You were never his family. Shredder is totally without honor!
Then, the Rank becomes the chief antagonist of the series. Despite its title, Next Mutation was not based on the unmade fourth live-action Turtles movie. In fact, some early promotional materials indicate it was once intended to be a continuation of the animated TV series, but the show that was actually produced clearly was not. Characters like April O'Neil and Casey Jones are disappointingly absent, as are fan-favorite villains like Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady. The Turtles also aren't related by blood as they are in all previous versions, and their behavior is even more juvenile than it was in the cartoons or movies. Moreover, compared to those films, the turtle suits seem ugly and clumsy. The combat is unconvincing, and several of the turtles have almost interchangeable voices, making it occasionally difficult to tell them apart. Those voices, along with the turtles' personalities, also quickly become grating, and despite its light tone, the show is never, ever actually funny.
A ninja must always keep his teeth clean of food.
That's not an official rule, is it?
But, of course, none of that is the real problem. It's not entirely clear who insisted that Next Mutation introduce a female turtle. Some of those involved believe it was Fox executives, while others believe it was someone at Saban or Playmate Toys. But whatever the truth, the situation was apparently such that the show would only be greenlit if Eastman and Laird would sign off on the new character. Eastman, for his part, didn't love the idea, but was willing to make a go of it so the show would be made. Laird, on the other hand, absolutely hated Venus. Why? Well, for starters, Laird had always always considered the concept of a fifth turtle to be, in his own words, a weak, facile, creatively bankrupt idea. To be sure, he and Eastman had previously tinkered with the possibility on several occasions, including a potential fifth turtle named Kirby who was designed for an unproduced movie plot, but Laird insists they were always careful to try and make any potential fifth turtle feel very different from the original four. Kirby, for example, would have come from an alternate dimension. Venus, however, who was lazily retconned into the Turtles' origin story, then coincidentally found and trained by another karate master, was the exact thing Laird always feared. In his blog, he even recalled that in the early days of the franchise, he would frequently get fan mail pitching a fifth turtle, and according to him, many times the brilliant idea to explain this extra turtle was that instead of there being just 4 pet shop turtles in that glass bowl in the origin story, there were really 5. Sigh. It's easy to see his point, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what didn't work about Venus. We can, after all, appreciate the impulse to make the Turtles universe more inclusive through the addition of a female turtle and a culturally Chinese one to boot, but even from that perspective, Venus was a disaster. And we're not just talking about her awkwardly shaped design, which implied she has shell bosoms, although that was super weird. No, it's more about her relationship to the other turtles.
We are a family. We are ninjas. We are going!
Despite believing they were the only 4 of their species, the boy turtles, right from the first moment they meet her, seem to regard Venus solely as a potential love interest.
You know, I work out every day.
And they don't seem to care about anything but how cute she is. In fact, it was to accommodate a possible romantic pairing of her with one of the others that the turtles were explicitly no longer a blood-related family. And as a result, she never really feels like one of the team. There's also the fact that Venus doesn't get to fight like the boys do, instead using ill-defined shinobi magic and goofy mystical orbs to contribute to combat. And far from providing meaningful representation for a foreign culture, she's mostly portrayed as being cringe-inducingly ignorant of modern society and naive about life in general. Laird would grudgingly sign off on Venus for the television show, but Eastman's enthusiasm for the idea and the money it would make them would lead to a falling out that would eventually cause the dissolution of their partnership. The sad part, though, is that it didn't have to go down like that. Venus could have actually been good. What makes us so sure? Well, to be sure, Venus was neither the first nor the last fifth turtle. Not counting Zack, a human boy who was made an honorary fifth turtle in the 1987 episode of the cartoon called The Fifth Turtle, the first fifth turtle was actually Slash. Introduced in another episode from 1987 called Slash, the evil turtle from Dimension X. Depicted as both hero and villain, depending on the occasion, Slash has since reappeared in turtle cartoons, comics, and video games. There was also Toka, a mutant snapping turtle introduced in the second live-action movie, who has made occasional appearances in other media as well, and even April O'Neil was briefly transformed into a fifth turtle in the Archie Comics version of the comic books. All of them came before Venus, and in 2015, the IDW Turtles comic series introduced Jenica, a human assassin who was transformed into a mutant turtle after receiving a blood transfusion from Leonardo. IDW would even introduce a new version of Venus herself in 2022. Created in a lab by a Frankenstein-like mad scientist, this version of Venus was a whole new character who would accompany Donatello on a series of time-traveling adventures before sacrificing her life to save the other turtles. All of these fifth turtles, including Jenica and the new Venus, were well received, and that's likely because they were all, as Laird insisted, different from the original 4. The original Venus, on the other hand, was completely rejected by fans, and even a crossover with Saban's Power Rangers couldn't change the Next Mutation's fortunes. It was canceled after just 1 season, and much to the relief of all involved, it disappeared into history as the turtles show that time forgot. So, what do you think? Have you ever seen The Next Mutation? And if so, what did you think of Venus de Milo? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely find others you like if you check out the rest of the channel. As always, thank you for subscribing to Nerdstalgic.